Coming up on week 18 of Let's Chat with Cat and Pat. Cat and Pat celebrate the Celtics as they're making their way back to the NBA Finals. They recap a 4-game sweep over the Indiana Pacers. Unfortunately, Cat and Pat got into a fight this weekend, and they're headed out to Nashville later this week for a little romantic/work getaway. All that and more coming your way right now on week 18 of Let's Chat with Cat and Pat. It is episode number 18 of Let's Chat with Cat and Pat. Patrick Gilroy alongside Katrina Pateri. Once again, we promised that we would be back on schedule. That lasted 1 week. It lasted 1 week, dear. And this time, it was our fault.
Well, I mean, I am exhausted. I legit have bags under my eyes and pretty much have for the last 3 weeks. And yesterday did not feel like a Monday. It felt like a Sunday. Good news is it makes for a shorter work week. Bad news is we're off schedule.
We're off schedule. I woke up this morning and I said to you, we fucked up. And you looked at me like, what do you mean? What do we do now? How did we fuck up? We've had a lot of things happen this week. Mm-hmm. So when I say we fucked up, it could mean one of many things. Some are more serious than others. Mm-hmm. But I looked at you, I'm like, we fucked up. And you're like, why? I said, because we failed to record the podcast last night, even though we had totally...
it was Monday. Yeah, we had time.
We totally planned on doing it. We just completely blew by it because we have been nonstop once again, and we'll talk about it all with you guys right here on number 18 of Let's Chat with Cat and Pat. But we got to start the show off with this, the Boston Celtics.
Well, I was going to say, we were a little bit focused on the game last
night.
Correct. And it was playing heavy on how does that disrupt our Nashville trip this weekend? Are we changing dinner reservations and things of that nature?
We're not changing shit.
Good news is Celtics pulled out. They did awesome. Yep. And our plans are as scheduled.
And I can't wait because as much as the players, Kristaps Porzingis, he needs these final 9 days of rest. Al Horford, my God, that guy needs
his knees. The effort, the warrior, his rebounds.
It's incredible. At his age, what he's doing and the effort level that he's displaying and the increase in workload and minutes. This guy was playing 20 to 25 minutes a night most of the season because Porzingis was here. Yeah. That was the plan. Now he's back to playing 35, 40 minutes a night, and he's been doing it for the better part of a month now. You can tell he needs a break. So this 9-day break, I believe the Celtics will play Thursday, June 6th, so that is next week, 8 days away. As badly as they need this break, we need it too.
We need it too.
The fucking ABC games, the 8:30 tips, I sound like such an old man, but the reality is...
stay up. I am purely exhausted just because every other night has been a late night watching a game or something we've had to do with Connor, and I need a couple good nights in a row. Unfortunately, we have a late night flight tomorrow. We have a late night flight Saturday.
You're complaining about going on a trip,
but at least these are for fun things, so that should hopefully get some adrenaline going.
Well, I mean, fun and lollipops. I'm going for work.
Well, yeah, and I'm tagging along.
You're tagging, and it's totally fine. It's what we do, and it's going back to one of the early episodes. It's how we maximize our vacation dollars. Yeah, it's a good way to do it. It just so happens that I booked a couple of Thursday meetings, which means I got to go out Wednesday evening.
Yeah.
And you might as well stay for the long weekend. The hotel's paid for by the company, whether it's one person or two people.
We are picking up Friday night,
Of course
Friday
we are.
night is on us, but yeah, your flights are paid for, my flights for points.
Yep.
Wednesday, Thursday night at the hotel are for the meetings. Technically, you should go home Friday, but I took the day off. You took the day off. You'll still answer. We'll still answer emails, answer our phone, but we're not taking conference calls.
No, there's no such thing as a day off.
So we're paying for Friday night as my birthday trip, a couple weeks late, and then we'll be home Saturday.
Yeah, we've celebrated your birthday a few times. Yeah. I can promise you one thing about this weekend and your birthday trip. I will not be replacing your diamond bracelet this weekend.
So did you see that I put on my nice little $29 special from K Jewelers? You got me the first year we were together.
Why couldn't you have lost that one?
Well, this is why I'm wearing it. It's a training, because if we lose this one on this trip,
it's not gonna hurt.
It's okay. It's not that bad. The other one was just significantly prettier.
Yeah, and significantly more expensive. And eventually, somewhere down the line, it will get replaced. It's just not getting replaced this weekend.
No, absolutely not.
No, we just bought ourselves a very inexpensive mini split for the house, but a DIY version. So that's going to get real interesting. Next week's podcast, you want to listen.
Well, next week is Nashville. The week after that, it's going to be how did we survive the DIY mini split?
So hold on.
We're not going to have the mini split installed yet for next Monday.
Why do you say that? We're coming back Saturday. I thought the plan was Sunday.
Well, of course, but like, do you really think we ever accomplish anything in a day? Like we do these timelines?
It says right on the box,
it says
DIY.
But this is you and me doing a project.
It's fine.
And when we think, oh, we'll get it done for the day.
That's a you problem. All right,
that's a me problem since I met you. I used to be able to get timelines done like that.
Well,
then I met you in this house, and like everything has to be like 3 or 4 times harder.
This shit is old, okay? It's an old house. How else do you think I could have afforded to buy a house in this fabulously rich town? There's issues here.
Hence why we're installing our own mini split air conditioner instead of having it professionally done.
Ductless air conditioning will soon be a part of this house, we think. So we're watching all these games, and I meant to send this to you today, and I totally forgot. That's on me. One of the big complaints we have is the 8 o'clock, 8:30 start times. But usually, and people that are 35 or older get this, usually come the NBA Finals, there's at least 2 Sundays where you can look forward to a noontime start, a 3 o'clock start.
Like 2 o'clock something.
No, the NBA released the final schedule today. Every game is 8 or 8:30. There is not one single afternoon game, but there are 3 days off between games instead of 2.
Okay.
Because you don't have competing series going on. So at least we'll get an additional night of rest, because not only do these games start late, which means if it goes 3 hours and it's nationally televised, it's ABC, it's ESPN.
The commercials.
It's going to go 3 hours.
It's 3 hours.
This is not a regular season Comcast game.
And then we had the overtime one night, and I almost like started to cry because it was like 11:30, and I was like, I was falling asleep to the game.
The range of emotion in our bedroom when Jaylen Brown hit that 3 to send it to overtime.
Oh my God.
Jubilation. I was on my knees. So she's in bed. I get out of the bed. I can't do it. I'm too tense. I'm nervous. She's pissing me off because she's falling asleep. I'm like, honey, how the fuck could you be falling asleep right now? They're going to win this game. And you're like, I can't do it. So I get out of the bed, get in front of the TV on my knees, and I'm praying to whatever God is listening. And Jaylen Brown hits that shot, and I skyrocket. My head, I don't jump high. My head hit the ceiling. Yeah. And then you yell at me, you're going to wake up Connor. Little did we know that 3 out of the 4 games against Indy were to come down to the final 30 seconds.
Every game.
It ripped my stomach apart. It kept us up at night. And then the jubilation that I feel and the shot of adrenaline, I have a real hard time settling down and going to sleep after that.
The chit chat. Did you like the instant replays on your cell phone where like I'm trying to fall asleep and he's like, honey, you got to watch this one. Honey, this one real quick. Honey.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
I want to share in the excitement of something that we enjoy together.
And it's like 12:40.
I know.
And we got to get up and like go to work and get Connor to school and do all that. But you know what? These eyes are not happy.
So we watch these games, and it's kind of a funny sight to be seen. And a lot of times we say, we should have a camera following us watching the games, because 9 times out of 10, we say what the broadcasters are going to say a few seconds before they say it. Yeah. We do it. It's inevitable. We've been doing it for years. There are a couple of new words thrown into the terminology this year, and it's not like, we're not talking about Drew Carter, who's a 25-year-old kid out of Syracuse joining the Celtics broadcast. We're talking about like 70-year-old fucking Doris Burke and 70-year-old Mike Breen. Mm-hmm. And when they start breaking out words like hezzy sus.
They said hezzy, and I was like, what is hezzy?
And
I was like, are they like trying to introduce like a Hennessy commercial? Like, what are they talking about?
It's a hesitation dribble.
And I was like, they can't just say hesitation?
No, it's too much.
We don't say full words anymore. And like, I know sus from like the kids in my program, I was like, what's sus mean? What's sus? And they're like, suspect.
Yeah, well, Doris Burke, when Jaylen Brown clocked TJ McConnell last night, Doris Burke said that was a little sus by Jaylen. What? You are a 70-year-old lesbian, like basketball player, aficionado, whatever you are. You've never used that word on a national broadcast in your 35-year career. And it's like some a consultant told these older people, hey,
Let's get hip.
we gotta appeal to the younger demographic. So here are some new words for you. Let's use hezzy. Let's use sus.
Well, the 40-year-old demographic has no idea what the hell they're talking
But
about.
they don't care about us. They want to get the 18 to 35-year-olds.
I know. This is what makes us cool when we talk to our children, because now we know these two words.
Yeah,
and
but
we can drop them in at dinner.
It's not really cool. When we try to use words like sus or hezzy.
I know, the looks.
We should
the
work.
looks.
I want to work hezzy into our next family dinner when all the kids are here.
And my father's
and your
here.
father's here.
Oh, God.
I'm going to work that into the conversation.
I remember like the first time we dropped legit at like family dinner with my dad, and he's like, that is not a legitimate word. Do you get what I'm saying?
We just got the opening song for this week's podcast.
Too legit be quick.
too legit to quit. Yeah. Little MC Hammer coming your way, 1991.
Dun, dun, dun.
Break out the balloon pants.
There you go.
So, like, we have a hard time because it's clear. Like, Mike Breen has never used these words before. Doris Burke has never used these words before. And it's just so... It's so suspect that,
It's sus, honey.
Again, I'm trying not to make fun of the person that I'm being, but like, it's a clown show because some 22-year-old, first year, whatever, employee at the NBA sent out a press release or sent a message out to all the broadcast teams remaining in the Eastern and Western Conference Finals and said, hey, we got to appeal to the younger demographic. Here are some keywords. We got to talk about TikTok videos and the hezzy dribble.
Buzzwords? Or is that like old too?
I think buzzworthy, like that was 1998-ish.
Like we're past that.
Yeah, we're way past buzzwords.
Yeah.
It's all
key terminology. Well, it's probably too professional.
It's all analytics too. That's the thing. It's all analytically driven, and somewhere out there is a pie chart, a spreadsheet that says you will capture your audience and keep them longer if you use the word hezzy instead of hesitation dribble 3 times in a basketball game. And ever since Mike Breen got that message, he has decided he's going all in on the hezzy. And it's just tonight, Mike Breen is broadcasting the Dallas Mavericks Timberwolves game. And I pray that the Timberwolves find a way to win. By the time this gets released, we'll know. Not that the T-Wolves will come back from 3-0 down. I just want to see Dallas have to work for it and have them be a little banged up maybe going up against the Celtics.
You really want that Celtics shirt with Kyrie's head at the bottom of Lucky's cane.
I want to fuck Kyrie up in the worst way. As a fan of the Celtics, no player has come to this town and disrespected his time here and the legacy of this franchise the way that Kyrie Irving has. And there is this national narrative out there right now that really bothers me, and I know why it's happening. I'm glad you brought it up.
Well, that was another, like, hey, honey, it's 11:45. Look at this T-shirt. Can we get it? Can we get it?
Yeah, fuck yeah. I want Kyrie's head at the bottom of Lucky's shillelagh all day long. Like, that's what I want. Because the basketball gods are real. They reward the right type of work, the right type of team, and a team that has put the thing together the right way. And Kyrie Irving came to Boston and fucked the Celtics. He sold the ownership on this idea that he was going to be the cornerstone franchise piece for the next decade. Then he goes out in front of the home crowd every single year. The last day of training camp, they have the green and white game, and the only people that are allowed to attend at the Garden are season ticket holders. And it's basically the starters versus the bench. And it's a big party atmosphere. Kyrie, after the game, grabs the microphone, addresses the people that spend the most money, all the season ticket holders, and says, hey, Boston, I just want you to know, at this point, he comes here, he's got 1 year left in his contract. Boston, I just want you to know, I love it here. I'm a legacy here. My father, kind of tried to play here. There's a weird connection with his dad and the Celtics. And he said, if you'll have me, I would like to spend the rest of my career here. Standing ovation. Everybody goes crazy. If you'll have me, of course we will. You're fucking Kyrie Irving. And at the time, he was Kyrie Irving coming off of championships with LeBron in Cleveland. Kyrie Irving, a top 5 player in the league. Kyrie Irving, the magician with the basketball. Not Kyrie Irving, the strange COVID weirdo that he became in the last couple of years. This is all pre-COVID. This was in the midst of the Kyrie hype.
And then he goes and he shoots a commercial with said father on the floor of the Garden, talking about the legacy and looking up at the banner saying, I can't wait to hang one here. And I get it. Relationships fail. Things happen. And Kyrie Irving leaves Boston. And instead of just leaving graciously like so many other players have over the years, the guy has to come back and completely try and tarnish the city and take this narrative. This is a guy that says he does a lot for equality and for the African American population and everything else that he says that he stands for. Well, he comes back to Boston and he continuously rails on the city for being racist. So maybe there's some sins in our past, and I'm sure there are. Ask Bill Russell. Bill Russell's talked about it a million times. But Bill Russell's also talked about the fact that, in the 50s, there was racism here. But in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, he never experienced it at that point. Kevin Garnett was afraid of coming to Boston. He didn't want to come here because of the reputation for being a racist city. Once he got here, he said he never felt it, not for 1 minute, and now he says he's a lifetime Celtic, and if you cut him, he bleeds green. Paul Pierce, even Ray Allen has come back here after his ugly split with the team, and we embrace him now. As much as we hated him for going to Miami, all these years later, we embrace him. And instead of Kyrie taking the higher road here, Kyrie Irving has decided to continue to belittle and tarnish this city, whether it's calling us racist, walking the Garden with his fucking sage, or stepping all over Lucky, and people laugh at that. But
if you grew up here, you lived here, your grandfather, like, they told you stories, like, that is so sentimental to us here in New England.
And I'll bring it to something that is relatively recent, so the young people that are listening understand it too. In 2017, Paul Pierce played his last season with the LA Clippers under Doc Rivers, and he was very much a bit player at that point. He would go weeks without playing, and it was his last game in Boston as a member of the Clippers. Western Conference team comes east. Only get one shot to come back to Boston that year. Doc lets him start the game. It becomes the only game in his career where he doesn't score a point in Boston up until 30 seconds to go, and the fans in Boston start chanting, we want Paul. I'm going to cry. We want Paul. And Doc puts him in. Paul comes down, hits a 3 at the buzzer, goes in a Clipper uniform, gets on his knees, and kisses Lucky. Mm-hmm. That was 2017.
Yeah.
And 2 years later, Kyrie Irving shitting all over it. So if you don't think that the logo means something to people, it does. And it meant something to Paul, and it meant something to millions of Bostonians over the years. And Kyrie casually comes into town and decides to shit all over it. So there's this national narrative now where we're asking the Celtics players and asking the Celtics fans to take it easy on Kyrie. Don't boo him. Don't chant Kyrie sucks. Don't chant fuck Kyrie, because that's only going to bring this out in him. I want Celtics fans to chant fuck Kyrie from the moment their plane arrives in Boston until the moment it departs to go back to Dallas. And then I want Celtics fans to get on the road and go to Dallas and keep chanting it, because this clown needs to understand that there are certain places in the NBA that you can come and go and say what you want to say.
Responsibility for your actions.
Well, these guys don't
Period.
feel...
End of story.
Guys like Kyrie don't feel any sense of responsibility.
For all the rest of us who are hardworking individuals, your actions mean something, and you need to be held accountable to it. And if you're not the most popular person because you're a jerk, you earned it.
And I get it. His teammates have always liked him, always respected him. He's been a part-time player the last 3 or 4 years. Up until this year, he's had a renaissance season in Dallas. He has been brilliant on the basketball court. And now there's a narrative that he's found his inner peace and his chi and like all this stupid shit that Kyrie uses, because he's one of these people that gets in front of a microphone and uses words that are far too large for him to fully comprehend, but he wants to sound super intelligent.
Maybe he should get the buzzwords list like Hezi and Seth.
Yeah, maybe he should. Or maybe he should be more like Jaylen Brown, who legitimately is...
he's so eloquent.
He's so eloquent, and he's so special because his level of intelligence, it dwarfs everybody else in the league. He's a very intelligent man, and he's eloquent with his words. But then, if he wants to make a point, a basketball point... Mm-hmm. He's not afraid to say, we've accomplished nothing yet. Fuck that. We got to win 2 more games. Like, that's the type of guy that people, especially here in Boston, we can respect and identify with that blue collar attitude. Not this holier than thou. I'm going to elevate myself way above everybody else because I'm going to use big words. No. You don't deserve credit for that. You don't deserve credit for having one good year in Dallas. And if you don't think that the Celtics brought in Drew Holiday and Derek White to fuck up your world, 2 of the most explosive defensive players in the league, both made the all-defensive second team, they're going to focus in on Kyrie, and I can't wait. But I desperately need the 9-day break.
Yes,
I need
we
it.
need the sleep to be ready for it.
I need the break.
I feel like it's going to be another 30-second nail biter down to the end. Every single game.
And it's
going to be to the death.
And it's not going to be... One thing we haven't mentioned is we've been blessed because round 1 only went 5. Round 2 only went 5. Round 3 only went 4.
I know, we're not going on previous years where we've done all 7. Like we are very lucky.
These two teams are very evenly matched, and there's a world. And the other component to this, and we'll get to everything else in a second. There's one more component. So there's the Kyrie component coming back to Boston. In Dallas, they feel the same way about Kristaps Porzingis.
Yes,
Porzingis went to the Mavs with a young Luka, and the 2 Euros were supposed to team up and recreate the success that they had over in Europe back in the day, and it didn't happen. It didn't work out. Kristaps continued to miss time with injuries. Fans in Dallas felt that he was too soft, and the relationship didn't work out despite the fact that he was incredibly compensated for his time there. You could certainly understand a Mavericks fan point of view saying this guy didn't earn his money. And this year he's been nothing short of brilliant in Boston. So I'm like, $30 million? Fuck yeah, worth every penny this year.
So, I think we're also going to say any of the Celtics.
There it is.
Yeah.
So
we have to check into our Nashville flight.
I am not editing this out. It's gonna, because this is what we do.
I just want to say we need to ask for some support for KP in Dallas, to make sure he's welcome there for any of the Celtics fans.
Well, I mean, why?
He's probably going to get booed.
No, but why did Dallas fans have to here's the thing. I want Dallas fans.
I'm not asking for Dallas fans.
If we're chanting "fuck Kyrie," I want them to chant "fuck KP." Like they've got a reason to be mad at him. But that's what sports is, and that's the thing I try to get through to our kids. And Roger, your son, my stepson, at 20 years old, he doesn't really get it. And Connor at 13, he doesn't get it at all. They both like sports. They both like to watch it, but they don't live and die with it. They don't embrace it the way that we do. And Connor will spend an hour debating with us. About,
I know, I have to walk away because it aggravates me.
Well, when he's like, the thing is, psychologically, He's right. He's 1,000%. His mental mindset is so much healthier than ours is. But he's also missing out on one of the great joys of life. And to explain that in a moment of pure torture for me, it is torture if we lose a playoff game. I am a tortured soul. It hurts, and I can't wait for the next game, but the next game's 48 hours away. I can't listen to sports radio. I can't read anything. I got to bury my head because I don't want to continue to absorb what I'm feeling. So I try to step away, but it's impossible to do. So Connor, the 13-year-old's like, Dad, why can't you just chalk it up? They lost. So what? Doesn't matter. They don't know you. You don't know them. Move the fuck on. And he's 1,000% right.
Well, the lack of commitment that kids have these days to any type of team.
Oh, fuck your kid. Fuck your kid. Fuck him. I love him, but fuck him.
When he has a commitment.
When he was 17, I bought him the coolest Larry Bird, Mitchell and Smith, whatever it is, old school stitched $200 jersey. We hadn't been engaged yet. We'd been together for a year and a half, 2 years, and I'm still trying to impress your teenage son. And he's got friends at the time that are all rocking, old school NBA jerseys. So I got him an old school NBA jersey, except his was nastier than the other fucking fake ones. And he was going to rock that. And I thought he was going to look great. The fucker liked the idea of the jersey. He liked that it was stitched. He liked the Mitchell and Ness. He liked that it cost $200. He liked that it came from Lids. He traded it in. He went to the store and sent it back to get a Vince Carter version of the same jersey because, according to him, He was the world's biggest Raptor fan. So tell me, who's he rooting for right now?
The Celtics.
Right. Who did he make fun of a month ago? A month ago. He made fun of the Celtics going into the playoffs.
I was like, are you talking about a specific player?
No, he made fun of the Celtics going into the playoffs. But now
now he's it's like, here they are in the playoffs, and now he's a fan again.
Yeah, that's called a fair weather fan.
Mm-hmm.
I have a hard time respecting that. I don't know what I disrespect more. The fair weather fan, at least he's rooting for them now. I'll take the win, I guess. Or my son, who's like, who gives a fuck? Like, it doesn't matter. Life goes on. You got shit to do tomorrow. The game is the game. And if it bothers you that badly, that says something about you, not something about me, not something about them. It says, you're fucked up, Dad. Maybe you need therapy, Dad. Like, these are the conversations.
Because we're addicted to watching the Celtics and committed to a team. Like, it's crazy.
Like, people have been addicted to their sports franchises for as long as we've been playing professional sports, so at least 100 years. And the emotional connection people have with their teams is a very real thing. Maybe it's stupid, maybe it's silly, and maybe if you think about it in an abstract sort of way.
I'm sorry, there's worse things we could be doing than being addicted to a couple nights a week for several months. We're at home sitting on a couch watching a basketball game. Oh my God, we're terrible people.
Shoot me full of H and give me a 8-ball of Coke, and maybe I won't care about the Celtics. But I don't want to do those things tonight. I just want to watch the Celtics. And I got to tell you,
and I want a theme cook to have our meals like match the game.
And it's adorable and it's delicious. Like, that's the thing. But
like we look forward to it. But like, what's wrong with that?
Here's the thing, and I joke about the drugs, but I'm kind of not joking. People fall in love with drugs like heroin and opiates because of the rush of endorphins and all the good feelings that you get because your body releases all this stuff all at once, and it's an addictive feeling that you have. I got to tell you,
watch the Celtics game.
I've never shot heroin, not once in my life, and I never will. I would dare a heroin addict to compare their feeling of joy and jubilation when they take that shot of heroin versus watching Jaylen Brown tie the game in a game they've got no business winning at the fucking final buzzer in a playoff game, in a conference final playoff game. That, to me, yes, I'm sorry. I was a chatty Cathy for an hour after that. I couldn't settle down because the endorphins took over my body. Mm-hmm. It is just the rush that you feel. And I wouldn't trade that for anything. But I don't think the kids today get it, and it's a big problem with sports. We'll do a whole other podcast on that someday because I could do hours on this. It's why sports have changed. When we were growing up, we were taught to root for the name on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back, and it's completely flip-flop now. Mm-hmm. And now players there are fans of players, not fans of teams.
Yeah.
And that's Roger's generation, Connor's generation, and generations to come. And they are not quite a generation apart, but they're close to it. So it's a scary thought if you think, a 20-year-old feels that way, a 13-year-old feels that way. That means that the 7, 6, and 5-year-olds that will soon be consuming these sports, they're going to feel that way too. And that's not what sports is supposed to be. You can root for certain players and follow them around. If you fall in love with a player and he gets traded, like when Paul Pierce went to Brooklyn, I was not a Nets fan, but I wanted to see Paul Pierce do well. Mm-hmm. When Paul Pierce went to the Wizards and hit back-to-back game winners in the playoffs,
happy for him.
I was so happy. I love seeing it. I still watch it on replay. Like, I love watching him at 36 years old with all of those young teammates that were so talented. They didn't want the ball. And the 36-year-old that has been there before wanted the ball, and he got the shot to do it 2 games in a row, and he came up clutch 2 games in a row. That's awesome to me. I'm not a Wizards fan, but if Paul Pierce and the Wizards had won a championship that year, I would certainly be happy for him. But I'm not buying myself a Paul Pierce Wizards jersey.
I mean, it's the same thing with like Tom Brady. When he went to Tampa Bay, everyone still participated in watching and supporting him, but like,
right, you love
he's a Patriot first, but still a solid player.
You can love the player.
You've followed and loved this person for years. You still want to respect what they go to do to finish out their career, but that doesn't make you a Tampa Bay fan.
But here's the thing, and the difference is, Tom Brady spent the better part of 2 decades in Boston. Paul Pierce spent the better part of 2 decades in Boston. And at the end of Tom Brady's career, he played for one other team. At the end of Pierce's career, it got a little funky. But after 15 years here, he spends a year in Brooklyn. He spends a year in Washington, and then a year with the Clippers. Then he retires. In fairness to Paul, he only went to the Clippers because he was going to retire. And then Doc Rivers said, hey, I want you on my team. This is a young squad.
And if you got a chance to work with Doc, you work with Doc.
Yeah,
like,
you get paired up with Doc again. And even in Brooklyn, he went with Kevin Garnett. Like, there was still the ties there to the Celtics championship. So I can live with that. I'm okay with that. Kyrie Irving, and it's top of my head, but he started his career in Cleveland, won a championship with LeBron. He went to Boston and bagged out of here like a pussy. Then he went to Brooklyn, and he quit on Brooklyn. He wouldn't get the COVID shot, so they had.
That's right. He refused to play.
They had they had the law in New York where they said, you're allowed to come and practice, but the second fans come in the arena without the shot, you can't play.
Yeah.
So 2 years of that bullshit, and then Brooklyn couldn't wait to get rid of him. And the only owner, the one owner in the NBA saved his career. And he did it because he's a TV star. That's Mark Cuban. Like, Mark Cuban said, fuck it. I don't care. We'll bring him here.
His name always just reminds me of a sandwich. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, a Cuban is a delicious sandwich. But Mark Cuban said, fuck it. We got nothing to lose. The Mavericks were not going anywhere. And you had a chance to get a 1A superstar, a top 5 in the league talent who was valued at, a nickel on the dollar. That's where he was.
It was a cheap price.
And they brought him in, and to Kyrie's credit, he turned it around. He's had a great year. He is, ironically, the reason why he wanted to leave Cleveland to begin with was because he felt that he was a number one, and he didn't want to be subservient to LeBron's place as the number one. He didn't want to be LeBron's number two, and it always bothered him. So when he got to Boston, Tatum and Brown were much younger. So he thought he could be the alpha, and those guys were going to be the number twos. Ironically, he rescued his career in Dallas by embracing being the number two behind Luka Doncic. So, with age comes maturity. I give him credit for that, but I still want to see the Celtics fans make his life a living fucking hell starting on June 6th. I want to hear Kyrie sucks.
We're going to pray to the basketball gods.
We are. I want to hear Kyrie sucks. I want to hear fuck Kyrie, and there's one more chant I want to hear, and then we'll move on from basketball. But Jason fucking Kidd is the coach of that team. And for those of you that are big-time Celtics fans and have been around for a while, when the Celtics were playing the Nets in 01, 02, and it was the mini renaissance of the Celtics coming out of the ashes of the Pitino era under Jim O'Brien, all of a sudden, Antoine Walker and Paul Pierce and Tony Batiste and Walter McCarty and Kenny Anderson, like, they are putting it together. And we find ourselves in the conference finals, and we find ourselves playing the mighty, at the time, New Jersey Nets, Richard Jefferson, and of course, Jason Kidd, Kenyon Martin, Keith Van fucking Horn, like that team. And Jason Kidd gets accused of domestic violence and beating his wife because he's a piece of shit. So every time Jason Kidd went to the free throw line, and I was at all these games covering them for the flagship station of the Celtics at the time, Jeff and I were doing the pregame, halftime, and postgame. And as radio personalities, we are not supposed to take part in this stuff. We had no choice. We stood up. We were loud and obnoxious with all the fans. Every time Jason Kidd touched the ball at the free throw line, wife beater, 20,000 Bostonians raining down on you. So don't forget. Well,
maybe it's like Kismet that's who Kyrie plays for.
Maybe. I mean,
this is where the scumbags go.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. It's possible. But all I'm saying is,
my second ex-husband was from Dallas, so let's call it good.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. I thought he was from California.
Well,
then I thought he was from Manchester. But this dude, I'm sorry.
He's a ghost.
I've been with you for 5 years. We've been engaged for well over a year now. We're getting married in like 6 months. And every time you talk about him, I learned something new.
Yeah.
I knew he had friends in Dallas. I didn't know he was from Dallas.
I'm sure his driver's license still has an address that he's never lived at in Dallas.
He's a shady fuck.
Yeah.
And how does he make his money again? Aside from stealing from you?
Selling drugs.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Acting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Acting.
I mean,
let's call it acting.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
I was telling you that next year it'll be 20 years and 10 years that I've been divorced from number 1 and number 2. And I got divorced on the same day, 10 years apart from each.
Yep.
Ironically enough.
What's the date?
November 15th.
I better just be traveling on November 15th every year for the rest of my
Well, it's
life.
always close to Connor's birthday, so you're usually gone.
I'm usually gone. Call it safe. But yeah, it's been 20 years and 10 years, and you're still getting punished. It's not fair.
Yeah.
Your dad punishes you. Your kid punishes you. Even the first husband punishes you. It's like, fuck it. Like
there's never just a move forward.
No, we
past it.
talk about all this stuff. So like over the weekend, we had a stressful weekend. Your kid winds up in the hospital.
Yeah.
He calls me, not you, which is weird, right?
Yeah.
But he says, "Don't tell mom." But I say whatever. Like I don't want to get the information out of him. Like what's going
absolutely.
on? Like he starts. Yeah, you got to move your fucking phones.
Sorry, we're checked into our B24.
It's week 18 of the show. You don't know that your phones cause interference.
I'm sorry. We're in the B's.
Your ex-husbands know we're talking about them, and they're messaging you right now.
It's like subliminal messaging. It's a little SOS.
Hearing from all of them right now.
As if they were that smart.
But regardless, like he calls me and he's like, "I got good news and bad news for you." Whatever. Like he's always so dramatic, but they all are at that age.
Yeah.
So he goes, I'll start with the good news. What's the good news? Good news is, Patrick, you were right. I had just laid into him that previous day and a week before. So the last 2 times he was here, I laid into him. I said, dude, you should not be working 50, 60 hours a week and going to school full time. You are burning yourself out. You look like shit. You've lost a bunch of weight.
Yep.
Like your eyes are sagging. You're stressed. There's no reason at this stage in your life to feel like this. You got plenty of years later to feel like this. That's what your 40s are for.
Yeah, enjoy 20 to 25.
He lives at home with his father. You are financially responsible, and dad gives him a bed. Like he's got 2 parents that love him, that have created a good family despite the bullshit. You guys never had a problem co-parenting. He doesn't have a crutch to lean on because when you guys got divorced, he was a baby.
He doesn't even remember.
He was a baby.
Yeah.
So he never went through the childhood trauma. Like, and he's got his grandparents. He's got his fucking great grandparents. Like, from somebody like me, I am jealous, envious, and angry. Like, I don't have my father. My mother's been a shit show for 20 years. I never knew my father's mother. My father's dad died when I was 11. My mother's mother died when I was 6. And I lost Grampy, the one grandparent I had, when I was 20. Like, that's it. And
he's got his full support system.
The idea of great grandparents never even occurred to me. Like, it was never a thought. I thought that was only a thing you see on TV.
Yeah.
This fucker, like, he's got everybody. He's got grandparents, parents, great-grandparents.
Well, on his dad's side, he lost my mom.
He did, but
we lived with my dad for a little bit. So.
The point is, he's got the biggest support system in the world.
Oh, for sure.
But whatever the reasons are, and we won't get into it now, why he chooses or why he's forced to keep the schedule that he keeps it. And I got to give him some level of respect for keeping it and honoring it. But he put himself in the hospital. Dude had a panic attack, dehydration, exhaustion. He calls me, though, and he says, I had a heart attack. Opens with, I had a heart attack.
At 20 years old.
Okay. I collapsed at work, had a heart attack, blacked out. Next thing I know, I'm in an ambulance and I'm in the ER, but you can't tell mom. What the fuck? I can't tell mom? So I'm going to marry this mom of yours. And if God forbid he actually had a heart attack and died and I didn't tell you.
Oh my God.
I think the marriage is off.
Yeah.
Like,
Dunzo.
I don't think there's any coming back from that. Men, like, we know we can come back from a lot. You can't come back from that.
Kids in the hospital, no.
It is what it is. So I tell you, and you do exactly what I thought you were going to do. So I'm in the car with Connor, coming back from going to the gym with him and getting lunch with him, trying to spend a couple hours with my son on the weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm like, honey, I got to tell you something. and you get annoyed because you know I'm setting it up.
Yeah.
And you just want to know the information.
Like, just give me the details.
So
I don't need the 2-minute lead up. I'm already undressing to quickly shower because I just finished a run. I know this is going to require something very important for me to do.
So
in fairness, I thought it was something your mother related and not my son related. But
the second I said your son,
I'm like, fuck.
So you thought he was dead in a car accident. I know it went through your head. I thought car accident too. When he's like, I could get good news and bad news. I thought the good news was going to be, I'm okay. Bad news is my car's fucking totaled.
Totaled.
I thought that's what was coming.
For the second time in 6 months.
I thought that's what was coming. Luckily, that's not what happened. I don't want to relive that, nor give him my car again.
Just possible heart attack.
But he didn't have a heart attack.
No,
he's fine. He had a panic attack.
He's stressed. He had a panic attack. Doesn't know what it is.
But no, he knows what it is, and
he knows what it is
that's
now.
What bothers me. No, that's what bothers me, because in the same sentence, he said he called me because he knows that I've experienced a few cardiac events before that we've talked about with him, and wanted to know what I thought. And before I answered that, I said, well, what do you think? And he said, well, he started off, I know it wasn't a panic attack or an anxiety attack. And at that very moment, I knew it was a panic attack or anxiety attack.
Because you never think it is.
You never think that you're the person that's going to have one until you've had them. Mm-hmm. And you never get to heal that and get beyond it until you accept it. I don't think it's going to be the last time we go through this. He's going to go through it at least 1 or 2 more times before he learns that that's what it is.
And then the triggers on what do you do to kind of work through it? The last 2 full-on ones I had were on planes, coming home before I was officially divorced from my second husband.
But you knew that.
I knew it was all out. I'm not calling a medic. I'm not doing a thing here, but I'm going to pull the bag to throw up in it as we're landing.
Right.
Because I am panicking because I have to actually go home.
But you knew that death was not inevitable at that point.
No, I just knew I was in for a really uncomfortable situation.
So, the worst part about the first 2 or 3 legitimate, real, not, I'm having a panic, a real one, is the feeling of inevitable doom. And that's how it's described. And it's a very real thing. You legitimately start to feel your heart beating out of your chest, you're sweating, you can't catch your breath, and you can black yourself out. I'm not ashamed to say it. I called 911 on myself twice and had an ambulance come pick me up in the midst of my awful marriage. I legitimately thought I was dying and wanted to say goodbye to my kids, called my mom, blacked out, the whole deal. And I'm a guy that didn't have the money because no matter what kind of insurance you have, you get a fucking bill for the ambulance ride. You want to take a nice ride? Spend $2,000 on a limo. Get a party bus with your friends.
Some tequila shots.
Yeah, fill it full of booze.
Make it worth the while.
Have a good time.
Hang out the moonroof.
Because the ride in the back of the ambulance strapped into the gurney there. It's not fun. And then the bills do come too, because the first.
Well, and then it just amounts to the pressure.
Well, the first time that I had mine, I'm doing what Roger did, and I'm telling the doctors, it's not panic, it's not anxiety, I'm fine. Well, you had a cardiac event then, so you need an angiogram, you need EKG. So angiogram, they take blue dye and they shove it into they stick it into your groin, and it goes up from your groin to your heart. And I'll never forget sitting there, laying there, watching this happen, and your whole heart lights up, and the doctor's kind of chuckling, laughing, and as the dye goes in,
you're fine.
Well, first of all, he's like, it's going to feel weird and metallic and cold, and it does. It feels all of those things. But then you're looking at your own arteries and heart, and he's like, your arteries are perfect. There's your heart. There's your ventricles. Everything's fine. You may be having an issue, but it is not cardiac related. Yeah.
It's not actual,
No, it's just the product of too much stress.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing, honey. You had every reason to experience a couple of those in your life. You had a kid young, and then you wound up being a single mother young. Your ex-husband was not the biggest participant young. You get married to the wrong guy after the fact, after thinking he's the right guy. Now you're raising his daughter and your son, and you're the one carrying the financial responsibilities and workload.
The entire time.
Right. So, yes, You deserve to have one. I certainly earned mine. And I'm thinking about Raj, and I'm like,
and he's too young to
the
like
poor son of a
that kind of
bitch.
pressure. And we're certainly not putting that pressure. Like, I want him to take a vacation. Like, how many times have I begged him to go? Like, can you take 3 or 4 days off? Like, just go.
Well, part of
like, I mean, at his high school graduation, I wanted to take him to Ireland. He's turning 21.
Well, you guys had
I
plans.
want to take him to Vegas.
You had plans for that for years.
Let's just go have like fun.
You had plans for that for years with him, and he was on board.
Let's go to the Bahamas. Let's go down the freaking shark.
Well, he also gets,
Dang.
we give him a $500 allowance every month, and he chooses to keep $100 and give $400 to feed his father.
To his dad, and not use it towards his expenses, which is
there's that. And so I think
he also turned down the car.
Well, so here, I'm glad you said that, because we both know that the biggest factor for these panic attacks, at least that we've had, generally it starts, I'm going to say number 1 is financially motivated, and number 2 is
the person applying the pressure for them financially motivated.
1,000%. 1,000%.
And that is definitely not us, and I wish he would just use his new remodeled room here.
Well, so he's got that, but regardless, like...
I'd give up my office if he wanted this basement space.
So we wanted to... You called him so excited. We both have our Lexuses and we love them.
Mm-hmm.
You called them so excited. You're like, and this is not a Lexus on, Juan's corner lot. It's at, Ira Lexus in Manchester, and it was...
Well, and my friend was working there from Best Buy years past.
It was short.
It was an elderly man turning it in.
But it was a little bit old. It was 2010, 2011?
It was 2010, 2011, something like that, but like 24,000 miles.
Essentially brand new, an RX 350.
Yeah.
It looked very similar to our new ones.
Yeah.
Had all the features, and it had 24,000 miles, and it was like... I think it was listed for $11,900, but because you knew the guy, he said get it for 10.
Yeah.
And you called him so excited. You're like, "Can you meet me? Can you meet me? I want to buy this for you." And instead of excitement, you got met with what?
Well, I think my grandparents are going to. Dad's going to be upset. Blah 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 blah. And we're on our way to go look at this car. And here I am trying to buy him a $10,000 SUV that's going to be badass. And
safe.
And safe,
nice.
And you get service, you get a loaner car. You get an accident, you get a loaner car. Like, everything's taken care of. Like, this is a good car. Upgrade from the Buick.
Yeah. Live the Lexus life, dude.
And it was just the, like, pure panic and hesitation on, I'm not going to have permission to be able to accept this vehicle from you, that we never made it to Lexus, had to turn around, and I had to let my friend know, thank you, but no thank you. And he's like, are you serious?
So part of the...
And he's like, I have 3 other people backed up, but like, you were the person, you were showing up here, you were leaving with this car today.
Yep, it was the perfect car at the perfect price.
I had a guy.
Well, of course he did, but it was a perfect car at the perfect price. And as a parent, buying your kid, it was a second car, but the Buick was like the trainer car.
Like the graduation, like you're an adult car.
But you also feel... knowing he's going to be going out with his friends and doing like, you feel safe with him in the car.
And it's a sense of and it's an all-wheel drive SUV.
But God forbid he gets in an accident. It's got airbags galore.
It's up to wazoo.
Yeah,
I mean, his ass is even air conditioned or heated, whatever his preference.
So the point is, that was there for the taking, and here we are 2 years later. We're over that. It's fine. But
ironically, our neighbors.
They bought the car.
So we walk, every time I walk the dog, I walk by the car that I wanted to buy my child.
Yeah, and he was concerned that it was powder blue. Well, you know what? Call it fucking Tar Heel blue and say Michael Jordan's your favorite player and get over it. Like, there you go. You can find a reason. It's not like it was orange or fucking hot pink.
I'll tell you what, the insurance would have been a hell of a lot cheaper than the fire engine red Nissan that he has now.
But it's a sports car.
Good God.
He calls his Nissan Sentra a sports car, which is fine. And if grandparents had bought it,
it would be fine
like
too.
we were told.
But he has a car payment. And
so we were told to break our hearts a little more gently. I guess his father was sensitive to your heart and your needs. Mm-hmm. He told his kid to lie to you and said, just tell him, Grammy and Grampy, whatever they fucking call it,
my kid didn't lie to me. He lied to me. He told me his grandparents are going to buy him a car.
Yeah, they didn't buy it. They put down a $2,000 down payment, and this kid is now sweating his $250 a month car payment. He's sweating the tires he needs to buy.
The car insurance for it, which is an extra $250 off the top, no matter what
because it's
color
red.
It is.
But in fairness, he only pays 50%. We
Correct,
pay,
because we pay one payment at Christmas.
and
Yeah.
he pays the other one. He may be paying for another one, but that's a whole other podcast for
him to
another day.
figure out. Yeah.
like there's a lot going on there. Let me say this, Roger. Your 6 month payment is not $2,000. I'll leave it at that.
It is not.
I'll leave it at that. But the point is, a lot of his panic is self-inflicted, but a lot of it is the pressures that other people have put on him. And I said to him when he was in the hospital, I said, I hope it's a wake-up call. You already signed up for classes this summer. Cut it back to 10, 20 hours a week. Keep your $500 at least for the summer every month. That'll cover your payments. And try to take a deep breath and learn from this. Yesterday, I text with him and he says he's feeling better. And today he's back at work. Like, he's going to wind up back in the hospital. It's going to happen. Probably when we're away. Like, not on this trip. It's going to take a few weeks.
And like part of me hates it, but part of me also is like, this is the example that I've set. You just work. Like, you have one job, you have two jobs.
Oh, you're blaming yourself.
Like, whatever
You're blaming yourself. You're blaming yourself because your ex-husband put the same financial pressure that he put on you, on your kid.
And now he's doing it.
Right.
And it's just like, I'm sorry, for the last 20 years, I've always had a second or a third job and found a way to hustle through it.
But you can't blame yourself.
Well, it's just like...
Your ex-husband won't get a second job. He
but
wants your kid to.
Reading from top down, though, he's like, well, like, if mom does this, then I can do it
That's
too.
not what he's saying.
But... No, it's not what he's saying.
No, it's not what he's saying.
But,
he's saying, Dad tells me I need to pay him this, and this costs this, and this costs this.
And this is what I need to do to earn it.
Oh, by the way, when he was in the hospital, right, and you tried telling him you need to dial it back.
Yeah.
Take a break.
Yeah. Or hey, you've completed 2 years of college on an engineering degree. You've got some experience. You've had some internships.
Leave Dunkin's.
Why the hell are you working at Dunkin' Donuts?
Right.
Get a desk job. Do something with that brain.
We've talked ad nauseum about my daughter, your stepdaughter, Caitlin. We love her to death. She's had a tough couple years. I'm hoping she's turned herself on the right path, whether she has or not. One thing she has done successfully at 16 years old, she'll be 17 in July, is master her Dunkin' Donuts job, and she got elevated as shift leader. And like I told you yesterday, there is no world that exists where Roger and Caitlin should be working at the same place with the same job title.
Well, and then what I said to you is my first real job with a W-2 was Dunkin' Donuts.
Sure.
And I earned and I got there, but that was my stepping stone to get my next great job.
But he already...
Which, that's what brought me to Best Buy, where I was 20 years old, his age, making $65,000 a year in 2000.
Right.
Which was amazing. He has that possibility.
But he's not. He won't reach for it. He'd rather slave at Dunkin' Donuts. But it's not about him. It's about the mentality from the top down. So again.
Well, the other thing is everybody called out. So he's working by himself on a holiday when there's supposed to be 3 other people on shift. And he's the only person with the drive-through going, the front end going, restocking everything.
Yeah. All of
it's
that.
Overwhelming.
All of that. But that is that. So I disagree with you that you caused this. I don't think you providing...
no, but it's just you don't call it a work. You show up, you go. You work hard.
You providing a good... You just said that, he grew up in a world where you worked 2-3 jobs, did whatever you had to do. So maybe that's why he feels this way. No, that's not why he feels this way. He feels this way because Dad says he has to provide so much money a month, and he's wired to have to give it. That's fine. What you did cause, though, and it is your fault, and it's not a bad thing, is that you do this to this day, and it drives me crazy. You work a job that when you got the job, you legitimately said, this was my dream job. I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I got it. I'm so grateful. And one of the reasons why was the work-life balance and the unlimited PTO.
Which doesn't
exist.
You
watch every one of your peers take time off and not give a single flying fuck. And I wish you would adopt some of that mentality. But instead what happens is your peers take time off, in the middle of a crisis. They're I'm out for 10 days. Here's my away message. Fuck off, people. And the calls start coming into you, and I'm like, honey, do the same thing. Just take the time off. The company says you can, just take it. Put up your little away message and call it a day. And you're like, but I can't, but I have to. And that...
What would my team do?
Right.
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck about your team? But that's fine. It's a great quality that you have. And that's why you've always been elevated and get promotions. And your career has been on a northward trajectory since you were a teenager. I don't like that Roger has that from you. But what I especially don't like is that he already had an internship and a job in his career field, and then he reverted back to his first job.
I know.
But it's because his first job will give him 60 hours a week and not give a single fuck. So instead of making...
Or those other places have integrity and will not.
Instead of making $400, $500, $600 a week in your career field and getting shut off at 25 hours... You know, it's better to make $700 a week working 3 times the hours and having it be there because you're bringing home more dollars, but nobody's considering the value of his time. And that's the thing that we always come back to here. And it sounds old and cliche, but the one thing that we've got less of than money is what?
It's time.
And these kids don't get it because they feel like they're immortal. And I'm hoping if he learned one lesson from this hospitalization, it's that feeling of immortality eventually goes away. And then at some point clarity hits and you're like, wow, with me, it took my father dying. And it took me to 39 years old to get that. I don't want any one of our kids to have to wait that long. It's not a good way to live, and you don't enjoy your life, and you miss the best years of your life. He put himself in the hospital because he's too stressed out over a car payment for a Nissan fucking Sentra and whatever bills his dad's putting on him. The reality is he's got a beautiful bedroom here. He can trade the Nissan in tomorrow and say he's moving in. We'll buy him his own car with no car payment. And his insurance will be 50% of the price living in Wyndham versus Manchester. That reality.
And we have like 2 fully stocked fridges.
And he can still see his dad, sleep at his dad's,
Whatever.
spend a week there, spend a weekend there, whatever the fuck he wants. He just needs to give you the authority in his own mind that maybe mom knows best. And the moment he does that, all of this stress goes away. But he's a dude, and I get that. As a guy, we dig in. I dug into a bad marriage for a long time because you made the commitment. That's what you got to fucking do. That's how we're raised. That's how we're taught. That's what it is. No matter what it does to you internally, you don't change it because you're a man. I do respect the fact that Roger has that in him. It's a great trait to have, but he's far too young to be feeling it. And I hope that he I don't know, it's a little sus. And maybe there's a little hezzy coming from him, and he backs up a little bit and just takes a step back and says, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, it's not worth it. Dude, go get your A's that you're getting in college. You're wildly overspending for it. We'll talk about that later. Not in this podcast. A different one. But yeah, like wildly overspending. And that's fine. Provide you with the receipts that you need to tap into his college fund.
Because I can't take any money out without
relieve some of that stress.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. Like, he started saving for college when he was a baby. Well, you've got money there.
I just need a receipt to take it out.
That's it. Otherwise, you get taxed, like, up the asshole. Like, just give me the fucking receipt, man. Like, all of these stupid things that kids do. But as we get older, the ramifications are very real. And winding up in the hospital is no joke. I don't want to make light of it, but there's also things that can be done to prevent it from happening again. And on one hand, he called me because he knows I did it to myself back in the day. But on the other hand, he's just like I was at that age, where he doesn't want to take the advice from his stepdad or his dad or his mom or his grandparents. He's not ready to hear the advice. And
he's got to learn the hard way, which is how I learned everything, which is unfortunate.
Hopefully he doesn't knock somebody up.
Well, let's hope not.
Like, these things happen.
Jeez, crow. Like, let's not go there.
Well, I would tell you what, I would prefer he knocks up some broad and has a successful co-parenting relationship with whoever she is, similar to you and his father, than does what I did. Because I've said this to you 1,000 times. I'm
hoping he has another panic attack and then learns after that one.
But I was at a...
That'd be easier.
I was at a self-esteem low. I was with the wrong girl, and was doing the wrong things and drank way too much and wound up in Vegas and got married and come home pregnant and like, now I'm a good Catholic and I can't get divorced. That is stuck in eternal purgatory hell, like no way out. At least you found your way out early on and managed to hide a lot of it from him. Like that takes more balls than what I showed. I just kept on going through the motions, and then 5 years goes by and 10 years goes by. It's like, now I'm an old man. Now my hair is gray. Like now my joints hurt. Like it happens overnight, and these kids don't realize how quickly it happens. Well, we're going too long, but like if there's something else on your list,
you were like bookending it there.
Yeah,
so
I know.
I think like
if
we're good.
We're good, but I'll like sort of leave it with this. You know, when we talked about the 01-02 Celtics with Antoine Walker and Paul Pierce going up against the wife beater that is Jason Kidd, who will be here in Boston next week. I want everybody chanting wife beater. In 2001, when the Celtics made the greatest fourth quarter comeback in NBA playoff history against I keep calling them the Brooklyn Nets, the old New Jersey Nets, I was 21 years old. That was more than 50% of my life ago. And it feels like yesterday. I was living with Biz and Becker and Ben and just living my best life by the North Shore Mall, like without a single fuck to give. I had my 1994 Lexus ES300, which, so what? It had 200,000 miles on it. It looked badass. And I looked
And it drove.
And it drove. And I looked badass driving it. I didn't have a single fuck to give. And it was incredible. And just the memory of that, and it was a tube TV, but we all chipped in and bought one of the early flat screen tube TVs.
Was it the Sony Trinitron?
It was, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I was selling those in those days.
They were a lot of money. They were like $3,000,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But we all chipped in our piece, and we got the Sony Trinitron, and it had the RCA jacks in the front. So we hooked it up to the wired surround sound in our apartment. We thought we were so badass. But that playoff game, where they had that giant comeback and Paul Pierce and Antoine Walker led it, and they had no business coming back. That memory is so vivid and fresh in my mind, and it blows my mind that 23, 24 years has gone by since that happened. And then we see highlights of the 08 Celtics. That was 16 years ago.
I know.
16 years ago. Well, let's see. I'm 44. So 10 years ago, I was 34. That means I was 28 years old when that happens. I was just a baby. I was 8 years older than what Roger is right now.
Yeah.
Think about that. And I had my mortgage. I had 2 kids. I had my full-time job, my radio jobs. I felt like an old man at that point, and there's no reason to do that. I just want Roger and Connor to maybe learn from not so much our mistakes, but from our experiences.
Right. Wait till 30 to make some of these decisions. Like, earn some money.
And we're all living longer now anyways.
Yeah.
Like, fuck that. You know, we talk about this all the time, but like, when I'm outside shooting baskets, I'm 44 years old. I am. That's how I decompress. I run 6 miles. I'm not in great shape. Like, I'm not in the world's best shape. Like, I've got my soft spots. I don't have a six-pack.
Honey,
but
your pants are hanging off
I
of
get
you.
fucked.
Okay,
All right, but I'm not.
thin.
Okay, I'm thin, but I'm not in great shape. Nobody looks at me and says, "Oh, that is a chiseled man." I enjoy playing basketball. When I was about 13 or 14, I was playing with my dad quite a bit because he was pretty good. By the time I turned 14, 15, my dad was 43, 44-ish, and he was like, I can't do it with my back. I can't do it with my knees. And he stopped playing. He stopped moving.
Yeah, that's not us.
That's not the people of today.
No, it's just like there's different, now we know like how to eat well and hydrate and do all these things that we have more longevity. I hope for our kids that they wait till 30 to decide who they want to marry. Like if they want to
marry.
Yeah,
like,
if they want to marry, like, you know, they could buy a house beforehand as an investment and then flip it to the house they actually want in their 30s. And I will gladly help them do that with my real estate license.
I can't believe I'm even going to say this, but like if they want to suck
like 35 and have a kid, because then you actually like don't have to stress about how are you providing and paying for daycare.
But if at 35, and I can't believe that this is how I feel now, but if at 35, Roger or Connor or Caitlin comes to us and says, and they haven't had kids accidentally, they don't have a habit, you know, they've got their career, and Caitlin says, I want to lick pussy and, you know, marry a chick and adopt somebody, or Connor says, I want to suck dick and marry Tommy and adopt a kid. I don't give a flying fuck. No. I'll love you. I'll embrace you. I don't care. I just want you to get out of the early stage of your life, not addicted and not fucked up without a big mistake that's going to haunt you for the rest of your life. Because like you said to start the show, it's been 20 years and 10 years and since your divorces. And how often are you reminded of the fact
every time we have a family dinner?
It's like, what the fuck?
And that was my rant the other day. It's in 2025. November 15th of 2025 is going to be 20 years and 10 years that I've been divorced.
Coming up.
And it still needs to get smacked across
Coming
the
up
face.
On next week's edition of Let's Chat with Kat and Pat. If it's been 20 years since the first husband, then why were you jealous of him showing up to the hospital with his girlfriend?
Because it was like, you don't.
That'll come your way next week on
She
Let's
doesn't
Chat.
have to be there, but they were like, I don't have to be there, but she can be there. Like, I kind of had a problem with that.
That's a whole new episode.
Well, mom should be there.
Mom should be there.
Whoever girlfriend is that I can't remember her name.
You're 1,000% right. But mom should be there, and to be damned with what he says, you did the right thing. You were there. You were uncomfortable. So be it. Mom was there. Period. End of story. You don't need the same guy that you needed the pat on the back from 20 years ago to feel okay about going to Dunkin' Donuts. You don't need the same fucking pat on the back to feel like you belong there. You don't. You're his mom. You don't need his okay. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad you stayed. I'm just not happy that you came home insecure about it.
Well,
Like, you're his mom. You're his mom.
Well,
you earned it.
Exactly. I shouldn't be made to feel uncomfortable because I showed up.
No, but he wasn't concerned about your feelings or even your son's feelings.
It was flexing a muscle.
It was flexing a muscle because maybe it's new, according to you, and maybe he was.
I don't know.
I think he was. Well, you said he was showing pictures.
Well, and he's explaining things over years past as if she doesn't know these things. Like you and I, we've been together almost 5 years. Yeah. Like you know these things. You've seen the pictures. We're there.
I think that they had a romantic Sunday planned, and he was planning on getting laid that night. And he said, "You know what? I'm gonna have to pivot, to use a word from your show. I'm gonna have to pivot here." And I still want to get laid because I'm still a guy and I still got a dick. So instead, we're going to have to go see my son in the hospital, but I'm going to show you the sensitive side of me. I'm going to be the good dad. And you know.
That's probably true.
How that can make a woman's vagina melt.
That's probably true.
All right, that'll do it for week 18 of Let's Chat with Kat and Pat. Her name is Katrina Pateri. My name is Patrick Gilroy. You effectively checked into our flights. What was our position? What are we?
B24, B26.
I fucking hate the fact that I lost my A-list status.
So did I.
Like, it's not fair. COVID fucked us.
And when you see the thing, it like we've done so many flights this year.
We're gonna get it. No, we're getting
it. We're like slowly easing there.
Yeah. We're easing our way.
Easing our way. We have a flight every month, if not twice a month, and we're still not there.
What are my odds of easing the way into the bedroom tonight?
Slim to none.
I got a chance then. Slim. I'm gonna take slim. I'm gonna forget you said none.
It's on radio record.
It is week 18 of Let's Chat with Kat and Pat. She's Katrina. I am Patrick. Find us on Apple, iTunes, on Spotify, and of course on YouTube. Just search the Kirk Minahan Show, Kirk Minahan Podcast Network. Until next week, when we talk to you about Nashville and everything that came with it. Bye-bye.